Today, Dan and I are in the kitchen and we're gonna show you how Dan makes his Chipotle Pulled Pork, and then we're gonna make tacos for dinner with a few other things in here like pickled red onions, which is one of my favorites, together with some Mexican crumbly cheese, Fresco, and some cilantro. I also made a very delicious sauce to go on these tacos.
Today we're gonna bring you Chipotle Pulled Pork. We've been perfecting this for about 4 years. I love this recipe. I've been in a ton of restaurants. Every barbecue joint I can find, I always get their pulled pork. I can't find anything that comes close to this pulled pork. So I'm super excited to show this to you today. For the recipe, you're gonna need brown sugar, chipotle chili pepper, kosher salt, ground cumin, ground cinnamon, and calls for 2 cups of chicken stock with 4 to 6 pounds of pork. But I'll be making a double batch of dry rub, so I'll have extra for making other things later. We're using 2 medium yellow onions. We're gonna slice them so they're thin and long. Just gonna break them apart the best you can. I have the crock pot already turned on, so it's preheating. So these go on the bottom of the crock pot. 4 cloves, thinly sliced. They are pretty big chunks, not mincing them, just long and skinny pieces, almost like the onions. Those are going on top of the onions. I'm gonna spread them around. So after we have the onions and the garlic added to the crock pot, we're gonna add our 2 cups of chicken stock. And I already have the crock pot set on high just to help me get this thing started while I dry rub the pork. We're gonna make the dry rub next. I like to make it just in a mason jar. So we've got 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. If I can get it in without spilling all of it. I do have the recipe down in the description, so you can print that out or save it, whatever you want to do to it, modify it. We have 1.5 tablespoons of chipotle chili pepper. You can use regular chili if you want to. Kosher salt, 2 tablespoons. Ground cumin, 2 teaspoons of this. And 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Put the lid on this. I'm just gonna shake it up. Okay, looks pretty good. So the pork, you wanna make sure that you dry the pork really well before you put the rub on there. So I've washed it. I see a little bit of dampness. I'll grab a paper towel and pat that off a little bit better. Don't be afraid to use too much. You really want to coat it pretty good. A lot of this flavor is going to pass over to the onions and garlic. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, let's take this over to the crock pot. If you're running with a 4-pound pork roast, you're going to need about 6 to 8 hours. This is probably going to be closer to 6 hours.
So let's make some pickled onions to go with the pulled pork that Dan just made for our tacos tonight. This is a recipe that I make all the time. It's super easy. Our boys love it, and it is delicious on everything. On tacos, you can put it on hamburgers, hot dogs. If you're making some kind of bowl, like a rice bowl, it's really good on everything. So it lasts about 2 months in the fridge, which I love too. So you can just prepare, stick it in the fridge for up to 2 months. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna slice the red onion, and then it's gonna go all in this pot. You want to cut these pretty thin. This is supposed to be medium-sized onion, but this one is large, so I'm not even gonna include everything. So now we're gonna wanna add 1 cup of water. Then we're gonna do 1/2 cup of vinegar. And you can use apple cider vinegar too. I just like white vinegar because I like that extra zing. I keep all my vinegars in these bottles. I make my own flavored vinegars, but this is white vinegar I just buy from the store and put it in a prettier bottle. And then you can kind of put in a little bit what you want yourself, but I like garlic, so I usually put in 1 clove in there. And I usually don't chop it up because I kind of want it to stay in the jar. And I usually put it in the bottom of the jar just to kind of give flavor. And then I usually do a couple of peppercorns. And we're gonna put some Himalayan salt in there. You're gonna wanna use a finer salt, table salt or Himalayan salt. I like the Himalayan salt for this recipe. And it's 1.5 teaspoons. Then we're gonna put some sugar in here. I try not to use so much sugar, to really try to keep it to a minimum. I do use sugar substitutes like monk fruit sugar for a lot of my recipes, but for this one, because it's a pickle and it stays in the fridge for a long time, I just don't think I think it's gonna give it a strange taste after a while. So I'm just gonna use organic, regular cane sugar for this. And it actually needs 3 tablespoons. And that's it. And now we're gonna go and put it on the stove and just let it lightly simmer for about 5 minutes. And the nice thing is that you can actually eat it right away. So, which is perfect because we're gonna have our tacos tonight. So you want to make sure that you stir this really good, and you just want to let it come to a boil, and then you want to take it off the heat and let it come to room temperature before you put it in the jar and add it to the fridge. The onions are now done. To go with the pork tacos, we are together with the pickled red onions that I just made. I'm going to cut up some tomatoes, and I'm also going to make like a salsa verde crema that's going to go on there. And we're also going to do some crumbled Mexican cheese. Let me cut up the tomatoes. For the sauce for the tacos, I'm going to use some salsa verde that I made the other day. It's roasted tomatillos and some other goodies. And I'm going to mix that in with some sour cream. And that's going to be the sauce for the tacos.
It's done. Just break it up with a fork. Shred it. And any fat you see, just throw that away.
All right, let's put the tacos together. And this cheese is just a regular Mexican crumble cheese, Fresco cheese. And now I'm going to add some really spicy roasted chili that I know nobody else in the family except for me is gonna eat. So I'm just gonna put that on here. Let's try it. That's really good.